In a high school in Gary, Indiana, Mo Barnett was a kid from a single-parent home, unsure about his future, contemplating military service. And then a Vietnam veteran walked in and changed everything.
Sergeant First Class Lewis Thomas became like a father figure for me in high school. When a lot of my peers were getting in trouble or getting sidetracked, he, through junior ROTC, kept me on track. He's the first person who told me what I could be in the Army. He kind of prophesied that I would be a general officer.
And then there was the day a .50 caliber machine gun malfunctioned on his range. It blew up on 2 of his soldiers. A young second lieutenant in command, less than 90 days, and his career was already on the line.
And I remember this guy pulling up on the range, pulling me aside. And I must have dropped my head at some point. And he tells me to pick my head up. He said, pretend like I told a joke and laugh and go back and get this fixed. And that was it.
Barnett appreciated Army leadership, but never planned to stay. After his first obligation, he submitted his resignation and was told no. So he ended up at Fort Drum in command of 80 soldiers. And something happened.
It was life-changing. It literally changed my life. I felt like those 80 soldiers would have done anything I asked them to. It was intoxicating. And I said, if the rest of the Army is like this, I want to be a part of this.
Later, Barnett and his wife both taught at West Point, surrounded by close friends, comfortable. Again, Mo considered leaving the Army, but his wife talked him out of it. And then later, after battalion command, he almost walked away again.
I was like, this is all I wanted to be once I stayed in, was a battalion commander. I was pretty close to not competing for brigade command and getting out. And what changed my mind, I was a branch chief at HRC, and I told my team this, and they were like, sir, if you're not willing to serve and be a brigade commander, like, I don't know who should do this. They were like, we want to follow someone like you. And I think that's the highest compliment that anyone can give you if you're a leader, is for people to tell you, I will willingly follow you.
31 years later, Brigadier General Mo Barnett is moving on from the United States Army Cadet Command, one of the largest leadership programs in the nation. In this episode, General Barnett sits down with our co-hosts to share how leadership development isn't a straight line. It's about second chances, intentional commitment, and helping others reach their full potential. I'm Carrie Viro-Hegis, and this is Army Matters.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your next episode of Army Matters. I'm Lieutenant General Retired Leslie C. Smith, the 66th Inspector General of the United States Army, and I'm forwardly stationed doing this podcast today. I can't tell you where I am yet because this is a surprise for our guests, but I'm here as usual with my good friend, my buddy,
the 15th Sergeant Major of the Army, retired Dan Dailey. Les, how are you doing today?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm just glad to be back home. You know, we've been pretty busy last month or so, haven't we?
On the road again.
Yeah.
That's a song.
Yeah.
On the road again.
I can't wait to
just can't wait to get on the road again. No, we better take some singing lessons. So, hey, let's get into it.
Yeah, go.
Let's get into this.
Yeah, what are we talking about? I think you got the first question today, Dan.
I do have questions. I'm going to ask you a question today, Les. Mm-hmm. So you commissioned at Georgia Southern University.
Yeah, get that right.
Is that correct?
Come on now. Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
And based on the name, I'm assuming that's in Georgia.
In the south part of it, yes.
Yes, okay. What were your cadet years like when you were there?
Oh, they were great. It was a great opportunity. When I went to Georgia Southern, there were 6,000 students. There are 30,000 now. I had a great ROTC instructors, Sergeant First Class William Saunders. I could see his face now. He's a Vietnam era veteran.
Yeah. So did you guys have to like do all the crazy stuff like they do at West Point and like the Citadel?
Yeah, no, we didn't. But what he told us was, if you wanted to be a good lieutenant, listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're serious about this program, because you're in school, right? So you can party all day.
Yeah.
You can show up to the program if you want to. But we decided, some of us decided that we wanted to be focused on being good Army officers. And the reason why he said that was because his lieutenant got a lot of folks in his platoon killed in Vietnam. And he wanted to make sure that we were squared away when we came on active duty.
So you listened?
Yes, I listened. And you know what?
What else?
Guess what else?
What?
I got to relive some of those times when I went to University of Texas, Dallas. Did you know there was a University of Texas campus in Dallas?
I think so.
Yeah, it is growing.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a great program too.
What do you mean you got to relive? How'd you relive?
I had a chance to talk to cadets.
Oh, you reminisce.
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 Yeah, reminisce.
You reminisce.
Yes.
Yeah. What was that? Tell us. Unpack that for us, Les. What was that feeling like?
It was like seeing me, when I had hair,
back when you were cool.
No, I'm still cool. I'm just a more seasoned version of cool.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to ask me questions now.
Yeah. I get to do that with the cadets at West Point, because, I've taught up there several times. Mm-hmm. Ethics. I teach ethics up there.
Yeah. I try to go down and, wherever university I'm going to talk to, visit when we go places. I really, just like you do, try to visit the cadets that are there, because I think it's important that they can see what they can be.
It's a highlight of my day when I get to go out and spend time with chapters, junior RTC cadets, young soul. It doesn't matter, because it's you can see that they don't know yet.
Yeah,
they want to ask you a million questions, right? And they like you said, they think we have all the answers.
And we're like, no, we don't.
No. But yeah, because they're about to venture on to one of the most important occupations in the world.
That's right. And taking care of America's sons and daughters.
So you're on the lead on this one today.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about Georgia Southern Cadet Time and talking with cadets and young soldiers? And
yeah, well, we talked about that because, we talked about Mo Barnett,
who has the responsibility of running all the cadet programs across the country.
Yeah. 270, I think, 270 senior ROTC, and hundreds of junior ROTC programs.
Yeah, I know it's like 6,000 cadets a year.
Yeah, it's a lot. That's for senior ROTC.
Yes, interesting.
Yeah,
and it's not like he just got in the job. We're about to talk to him on the job he's about to give up. So he's been doing this for quite some time.
Should we welcome Mo Barnett to the show?
Yeah, let's do it.
Brigadier General Mo Barnett, welcome to Army Matters. Thank you for your service to Cadet Command.
Thanks, General Smith. Sergeant Major, good to see you both, and thanks for having me on today.
Yeah. So you're the current commanding general of Cadet Command.
I am for 6 more days.
6 more days.
6 more days.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna jump into that, but I have something very special for you today. This is a surprise of the surprise.
Okay.
So I just finished meeting with the recruiting battalion commanders. Come over here there, trooper. Sit right here. And I am at University of Texas, Dallas. And they wanted to tell you, thank you for your service to the nation and all the great things that you've done. So I got a trooper that's going to come on the net, and this is going to be part of our podcast. So here you go. Introduce yourself. Here you go. Let's put your chair over. Talk about right there.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Cadet Younger here at the University of Dallas ROTC program. Just wanted to say thank you again just for giving me this opportunity. Currently at MS3 prior service, going through my first year. Looking forward to going to camp this summer, but genuinely just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Wow. That's all you're doing. So you've earned the right to be there. I probably had to sign a waiver or something if you're prior service, but that was my part of the deal. But you're there because of the hard work that you've done. So I appreciate it. And thanks for answering the call. And in your case, probably re-answering the call, right? Decided to serve at one point and then decided you wanted to lead soldiers in
Absolutely.
a different fashion, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
thanks
sir.
to you and congratulations. Get ready for camp.
Absolutely.
You should be hopefully on a rifle range or doing land navigation or something to
Yes,
get
sir.
some sets and
Absolutely.
reps.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a pretty good surprise, wasn't it, Mo?
That was good, sir. That was good. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So talk to me, Mo, about your early years, where you grew up, and how that prepared you to serve. You kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mentioned I'm from Gary, Indiana, so born and raised there. My parents, both born in the South in Mississippi, migrated first to Birmingham, Alabama, and then eventually they landed in Gary, and that's where I was born and raised. And that's pretty significant. So I do these 3 questions things when I meet people or do like my staff in briefs: where you from, why it matters, what's your birth order, something difficult from your childhood, and what's your biggest regret at this point in your life. And I typically start by doing that. I won't do this on this. I'll get to the answer on Gary, Indiana. But it is a tough place to grow up. Grew up in a single parent household, my mom and 3 sisters. So in some regards, I was the man of the house, and my mother always challenged me to act accordingly, right? But I think that shaped me and prepared me. So when I entered the Army, most of what I got in the Army, I had already been through tough times playing sports and doing those things.
So tell me, how many sports did you play growing up?
I think I ended up with like 12 varsity letters when I graduated. I played a couple sports in the same season. I literally played tennis and baseball in the same season. Baseball was my primary sport, but if we weren't playing, I would go play in a varsity tennis match, play football, play freshman basketball. And this is the first time I got some really good feedback from a coach. I had played freshman football for this same coach and was trying out for the basketball team. And we get to the last cuts and he pulls me aside and he says, "Hey, you're going to make the team because you're one of my football players, but you're not going to play. And I need you to be active." So at my school, you couldn't play just one sport. You had to have 2 sports. You probably grew up in the same kind of thing where you just didn't play, not like today. So he takes me down to the wrestling room and he's like, "Hey, you need to wrestle." And he left and I left too and went upstairs to the 4th floor to run indoor track. So it was the first feedback somebody told me, "Hey, you're not good enough to do this."
Nice.
But played a bunch of sports.
Yeah. So talk to me about losing a lot. What is that?
I learned that lesson very early on. So I think I played on a little league baseball team growing up. It was a newly established team in a well-established league. Me and another kid were the 2 oldest on the team by a couple years. So the other kids on the team, they were all younger and they had never played baseball. We didn't win a game for 2 years. So it was pretty humbling. Now, I probably cry in a lot of those games because only 2 people pitched. It was either me or the other kid, and they would hit, nobody could field. So we got 10-run ruled a lot. So a lot of those games ended at about the 5th inning. But I learned how to lose. I learned how to process losing early on. What wasn't a good feeling, and what I learned is I didn't like that feeling. And, it made me really dedicate myself to preparing. And I think that paid off later on as I grew up in sports and in life in the Army. You get out of it what you put into it. And you're going to experience loss a lot in this life, right? How do you deal with that? There's something on the other side of losing. There's a lot of learning that happens on the other side of that.
Sir, you mentioned earlier that you were in junior ROTC and ROTC. But I've heard that you were shaped by some key NCOs. Can you tell us about that?
I was. Probably, if I don't say this, I'll probably get kicked out of my family. So my oldest sister is a retired master guns in the Marine Corps. So she was probably the first non-commissioned. It's about 5.5 years difference between us. She got my first salute as a young second lieutenant and, gave her the silver dollar. So her influence and example that she set, I would tell you, has had a huge impact on me as an officer and my journey in the military and in the Army. But that junior ROTC experience really shaped me. Sergeant First Class Lewis Thomas, Vietnam vet, had done 2 tours in Vietnam. I grew up in a single parent household. I had a relationship with my dad, but not around a lot. And it was Sergeant First Class Lewis Thomas who became like a father figure for me in high school. When a lot of my peers were getting in trouble or getting sidetracked, he, through junior ROTC, kept me on track. He's the first person who told me what I could be in the Army. He kind of prophesied that I would be a general officer. Now he's no longer here. He didn't get to witness this. He was at my commissioning ceremony, but has since passed. But I carry the things that he taught me with me every day. Really, the foundation of who I am as a leader and an officer in the Army is things that I've learned from Lewis Thomas.
Yeah, and then you were inspired by another great person in your life to go to ROTC. Who was that guy?
To do senior ROTC?
Yes.
Yeah, so you mentioned I was in the National Guard and I went to basic training at AIT and I was like, man, why did I do this? So I wasn't going to join. I had no desire to join. And I met this major, Lance Lashley, field artilleryman, and he kept asking me to take his class and I kept avoiding him. And eventually I took the class, fell in love with it, and obviously did well. Was the battalion and brigade commander in that senior ROTC program, but I never would have had that opportunity if Major Lashley hadn't convinced me to take that class. So 2 pivotal people at both echelons in there, Sergeant First Class Thomas and Major Lashley, who's since retired, lives in Chicago and works with junior ROTC of all things.
Yeah. And well, you just mentioned you didn't plan on joining and you didn't plan on staying. What's the primary reason that made you stay? After the major convinced you to try it out, you fell in love, but what made you want to stay?
So I was non-scholarship. So I didn't have a scholarship. I had a 3-year obligation. Wasn't necessarily pursuing an active duty commissioning. And I remember when my PMS came to me, he's like, hey, I got good news and I got, better news. Good news is you have a job. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, you got active duty and you need to be at Fort Bliss, Texas by the 5th of May. So came on active duty, had a 3-year obligation. I thought I was going to do that and go to dental school or medical school or do something else as on the civilian side. Submitted my refrat, my unqualified resignation to get out of the Army and was told no. They told me I submitted it outside that timeline. So I ended up at Fort Drum doing battery command, and it was life-changing. I felt like those 80 soldiers would have done anything I asked them to. It was intoxicating. And I said, if the rest of the Army is like this, I want to be a part of this. And that literally changed it for me.
That's cool. So let's back up a little bit. So we've heard that there have been a lot of senior leaders who thought at a young age that you would be a senior leader in the Army, but that wasn't part of your plan. You were planning to get out and you talked about company command, but tell us a story about malfunction on a 50 cal range.
I guess the big thing here is you got to be around people who are really willing to underwrite your mistakes, right? So you had to do the 90-day thing where you run a range, you got to get qualified and do all of those kind of things. So I'm running a 50 cal range. I'm a young second lieutenant, and we have a 50 cal malfunction. It literally blows up on these 2 soldiers, the gunner and the assistant gunner. And the leader, the 3 that I worked for at the time, he underwrote that. I got a lot of good feedback from him, probably the best conversation I've had as an officer. And I remember this guy pulling up on the range, pulling me aside, and I must have dropped my head at some point. And he tells me to pick my head up. He said, pretend like I told a joke and laugh and go back and get this fixed. And that was it.
So hold on now. So you're on the duty roster for running a range, and explain to our listeners about what does a lieutenant do on the range? What are they responsible for?
Everything.
Like, is it everything?
Everything.
Okay, explain. What does that mean? How long have you been in the unit?
I had been in the unit less than 90 days.
Yeah.
So essentially, only thing I had really done in the Army was gone to school. I had been in the officer basic course now. I had fired my, personal weapon, that thing, but I had not run a range. So this is the first range I run. You got to put the plan together. You got to resource it. You got to brief at every echelon. You're responsible for the conduct of that range. And this is a battalion level range. So every 50 caliber machine gun crew is coming onto this range. And this is probably like the second day when the incident happened. So we're well within the range. We're getting crews through. But unfortunately, the crew didn't set the head, space, and timing on the gun. And it was in the script from the non-commissioned officer in the tower. And that's probably the only thing that saved me from not getting kicked out of the Army was we had told them to set the head, space, and timing. And, perhaps the lane safety didn't confirm that. But I learned a lot of lessons there. Trust but verify. Right?
Yeah, that's good.
Surround yourself with great non-commissioned officers, because the difference in, someone really getting hurt or folks going to jail or something like that were the non-commissioned officers in that platoon and the non-commissioned officers on that range. Just incredible professionals, right? I'm just a lieutenant who, had a little experience. What they brought to the table was way more valuable than I did. And just trusting them and learning from them was invaluable for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. So let's discuss some of your other assignments. You had some unique ones. For example, when you were a senior intelligence officer at a detention facility in Bagram, what did you learn from these types of assignments, and how did you get those jobs?
Absolutely. I'm an air defense officer by trade. So think Patriot missile systems, Avenger, Stinger. I grew up as a short range air defense officer, so a divisional air defense officer, not a high altitude, high medium altitude guy. So that's my background. But I would tell you broadly, I've had some very unique experiences in the Army. And this is, I think, the value of what we do. Unless you're a doctor, lawyer, or something like that, really specialized, I've had the opportunity to be everything from a gym coach to a intelligence specialist in some pretty austere environments. So you mentioned this, Sergeant Major. I was the senior intel officer in the prison in Bagram as an air defense officer. And, that's a broadening assignment for us, but it was only because I had the opportunity to go to the Defense Intelligence Agency and be a missile defense analyst. That's what they sent me there for. That's not what I ended up doing. I ended up doing everything but that, which is a great lesson too. If you show up and give like 110% to everything, people are going to give you more than you showed up for because they know you're capable of doing a lot more. So I ended up running one of the branches at DIA as a non-intel person during the Arab Spring in early 2010. They must have recognized my talent. Now they sent me to a great deal of specialized training to do that. And it was just an incredible opportunity. I learned a lot about the impact of good intelligence and how that's used operationally to create the effects on the battlefield that we need.
Yeah.
No, that's so cool. So you also taught exercise science and boxing at West Point. Now, what did mentoring those cadets and teaching them how to punch each other teach you about developing leaders?
It was a great opportunity. I didn't even know that was something that I can do. And a mentor, when I was a battery commander, a good major said, "Hey, what are you going to do after command?" I had only been in command 3 months, and I'm like, I still got, 18, 24 months of command. He's like, "You need to be thinking about this now." I had played and coached on our intramural team in the battalion. We had just won the post championship. He's like, "You need to go teach at West Point." And this is one of those people will see things in you that maybe you don't see in yourself. That's kind of been the story of my life. And Steve Richmond says, "Go teach at West Point." So I did. I applied, went back to Indiana, got a kinesiology degree, master's degree, and then taught at West Point for 3 years. A phenomenal opportunity because you do get to shape cadets, future officers. For 3 years, I did that. Now, those cadets that I had in class, Most of them are battalion and brigade commanders now. So I routinely see them or hear from them in their current role. So they're running the Army at this point. So it was an incredible opportunity.
Yeah. So, one thing that I get from soldiers all the time, back when I was still in, but even today is, how did you know you wanted to serve a career? Because junior officers and NCOs look at senior officers and senior NCOs and think, oh, these guys, they must have knew from the very beginning that they were going to stay in the Army 30 years and become generals. And we all know that's not true. And were there other points in your career where you were making that decision of whether you want to continue on in uniform, and what motivated you to do it?
Yeah, two distinct points stick out in my mind, Sergeant Major. So, you mentioned the staying around after being a lieutenant and going to do battery command. That was really where I said, hey, I'm all in on this. But, you get to the 9-10 year mark as an officer, and that's your first decision point if you stayed to that point already. And I went to my wife. We were teaching at West Point. My wife was working there as a nurse at the academy as well. And I said, hey, if we're going to get out, this is the place to do it. And she was like, no, why would we get out? We're having a great time. So we decided to stay, so at that point we knew we were going to do at least 20 years. So that's the first one. The second one was after battalion command. I was like, this is all I wanted to be once I stayed in, was a battalion commander. I was pretty close to not competing for brigade command and getting out. And what changed my mind, I was a branch chief at HRC, and I told my team this, and they were like, sir, if you're not willing to serve and be a brigade commander, like, I don't know who should do this. Ah, man, like, don't put that on me.
Threw a little bit of guilt on you.
Yeah, they did. Right. But they were like,
hey,
we want to follow someone like you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the highest compliment that anyone can give you if you're a leader, is for people to tell you, I will willingly follow you.
I've had that same conversation with so many officers throughout my career and say, sir, don't get out. And you know how I would guilt them into it. Be very honest. I'd say, right, our soldiers need great leaders. And I hate to see great leaders get out of the Army. So, but thanks for continuing to serve.
Join AUSA, the Army's premier professional association and host of the largest land power exposition in the United States. AUSA is open to everyone, including all ranks and components. So whether you have a relationship with the U.S. Army or simply want to honor those who serve, you can learn more online at ausa.org/join.
Welcome back, everyone, to Army Matters. So, General Barnett, you're now the Commanding General of Cadet Command. Tell us about the best parts and the most challenging parts of mentoring young leaders.
The best part is it's the lives you get to affect every day, both junior ROTC and senior ROTC, and particularly on the junior ROTC, we're changing lives through that program. I have no doubt about it. I've seen enough of them to know that the impact of junior ROTC is far-reaching and life-changing. The most challenging is we can't take them all, right? There are a lot of people, great people, who want to be leaders in our Army, and quite frankly, we can't take them all. I can tell you this explicitly: they're way smarter than I was when I was in college. So I'm excited. I get to see, kind of the beginning of that with junior ROTC, and then I see a real quick glimpse at what's in the future for our officer corps. And I can absolutely tell you we're in great hands. Our nation and our Army is in great hands in the future.
Yeah, let me pull the thread a little bit, just for a little bit on that one. So tell our listeners why junior ROTC is so important, not necessarily as a pipeline for coming into the military, but what does it do for the communities where they are?
It's impactful for a lot of reasons. So just the impact in the school is transformative. Higher GPA, higher attendance rate, higher graduation rate. I think we're the second largest youth program in the country. So think about that. 300,000 high school students participate just in Army ROTC. That doesn't include Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard. I think Space Force has a program now. Doesn't even include those 300,000 young people, and a lot of them in areas of the country that are like Gary, Indiana, that, higher gang activity and things like that. So much needed in some of those areas, but we're also in places in very affluent communities doing cyber and robotics and all of those things. And just the impact we're making is transformational for those young. We're giving them a glimpse of things that they can be and do in the future. You know this, most high schools don't have physical education anymore. And a lot of students where we have programs are getting that need met through ROTC. We're going to institute holistic health and fitness in JROTC in the next few years. That's going to be impactful for the nation in terms of health, wellness, and fitness. Think about that.
Yes. Yeah. That is impactful. And can you clarify for our listeners what the junior ROTC design really is? It's not a military recruiting program. It's something else.
Yeah. So the real goal there is to make better citizens, right? It's a citizenry program, but we will talk to you about 3 pillars of service: military service, national service, and public service. And they're embracing it. I'll share this fact with you. Whether a school wants us to recruit those students or not, if they have a junior ROTC program, I don't care which one it is, we have a 40% chance of recruiting them. They're going to sign up. Schools that don't have an Army program, we get a higher take into enlisting than an Army program. So if they have an Air Force program, we get more students from that high school to sign up in the Army. It's somewhat bewildering, but we're going to get them. We don't have to recruit them. They're going to see those instructors and how professional they are. They're role models. They're disciplinarians. And they're talking to them about their experience in the military. And quite frankly, they're going to sign up.
So can you tell us about the senior ROTC program and how many schools and cadets are participating?
Today, we have 274 host program. A host program is essentially where you have the professor of military science, the lieutenant colonel, and a master sergeant, senior military instructor at that host, and the resources. They have 3 civilians there. And we have an extension program that doesn't have the lieutenant colonel, but may have a captain, a major, and maybe a non-commissioned officer. So all in all, we have almost 900 colleges and universities across the country that whose students participate in senior ROTC. That's the scale. About 27,000 students actively participating in those 900 colleges and universities.
Yeah, amazing. Someone says to you, "Thank you for your service." You often respond differently than most. What message do you want Americans and young leaders to hear? And how does that relate to the way you develop young leaders now?
I have a great recent anecdote of this, Sergeant Major. So for some reason, I started getting offended when people started saying that, because it almost came off like, thanks for doing it, so I don't have to do it, or so my kids don't have to do it. So what I started saying is, hey, please come talk to me about how you can serve if they're that age, or if they're older, your grandkids or children are welcome to join me. And I've had a few people take me up. Yeah, I'd love for my son or daughter to do it. Recently, I did this at an event, and the lady was like, we can call my son now. I would love for him to sign up. So I started to change. Instead of just saying thank you or it's an honor to serve, I start offering them an opportunity for them to either serve or for them to think about who else they know that may be interested in serving or should be.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
I have a similar twist where that's unique too, is, thank you for your service. And depending on the demographic, right? I mean, it's but I always say, well, thank you for yours. And they'll say, well, I didn't serve. I said, are you a good citizen of America?
Absolutely. I like that.
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So what is your boss's boss now, Lieutenant General Davis? General Davis, think about your helping him to recruit.
Me, I think everybody's a recruiter.
That's right.
That's right. Enlisted or officer. Yeah, it's not. Recruiting is not something that's reserved for people to have a recruiting badge. We all have an obligation to recruit the next generation of. Now, specifically, I'm charged with recruiting officers, right? I have that mandate. It's a statute that says I must do senior ROTC. So I already have that part, but I'm compelled to help the Army meet its in-strength requirements through talking to young people that I run into every day in this job about other opportunities, because not all of them are cut out to be an Army officer, right? You'll be surprised at the number of college students who either finish college, have no job, opportunities, and enlist, and the ones who drop out of college and enlist. That's a right population.
I know. Yeah, we know. We definitely know, because I see them all the time.
Right.
So let's talk about that. A cadet or a young person or even a parent came up to you and expressed concern about the future of service in the Army. What would you say to them?
I'll let my children do it. I would encourage them to. My oldest daughter is pursuing a scholarship. She's trying to become a nurse anesthetist, so a CRNA, and she wants to serve. I am encouraging her to, because I know what the profession has, done for me and my family. I'm from Gary, Indiana, inner city, grew up in a single parent home, and the Army for me changed my life, and the Marine Corps for my oldest sister, changed her life, right? And I offer that to anyone. This is a great place to be and serve.
Yeah, that's interesting. Same in my family. My older sister was in the Marine Corps. My younger brother was in the Army. And my daughter now is an Army doctor. So maybe they can work together one day.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty cool.
Yes, sir. You talked about the folks who motivated you throughout your career, the story of the 31 years of very successful service. And we thank you for that, sir, incredibly. What would you tell young soldiers and cadets today what that means to serve?
First and foremost, it's about other people. So I would tell them, first and foremost, be prepared to serve others, right, in some capacity. And the higher you go up the chain, the greater your service obligation becomes. It does not reduce. It actually grows exponentially. There's an expectation for you to develop more, for you to mentor more, and for you to serve more. So be prepared to serve, but it's fulfilling, right? That is life-changing. You can't put a dollar amount on what that means. That's what I would tell them. You get the opportunity to do that. You get to serve the best people of this country in the most critical, what I would argue is one of the most critical professions in the world.
That's pretty cool. So last question for you. This is your last week as a Commanding General of Cadet Command. What would you like to tell all of those leaders across the United States, really the world, that have supported senior and junior ROTCs, folks across the nation, and really, again, part of the world? What would you tell them?
We have the best mission ever. If you think about the two things that we're mandated to do by law, provide oversight and resources to junior ROTC, the second largest youth program in the nation, and the impact, I talked this earlier, the impact we have there. On the senior ROTC side, you are helping to create the future leaders, not just of our Army. You think about the last few years, we've been commissioning 5,000, 5,500 cadets a year. There's a chief of staff of the Army in those groups. There's a vice chief of staff. There are division commanders, brigade and battalion commanders. Every one of our Army, military, civilian contractors, they're all a part of creating those people. That's their legacy. They had their thumbprint on the next chief of staff of the Army at some point. Think about that. Think about the impact. And they don't realize that they're making that impact. So I would tell them that you're making an impact on those young people in junior ROTC, and you're making an incredible impact on our nation, our Army, by creating the opportunity for the next leaders of our Army to be developed through Army ROTC.
What do you think about that, Dan?
I think we put the right leader in the right place at the right
That's
time.
right.
Yeah.
That's
the
right.
Army does get it right. They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
If I'm somebody who's never been affiliated with the Army, this is the way I'm going to say it, how would I go about getting into ROTC, senior ROTC?
Yep. Go to armyrotc.army.mil, or you can go to Go Army website and search for Army ROTC, and it will take you to every college and university that offers ROTC. It will talk you through the process, what the requirements are, and the life of a cadet in that program.
Hey Mo, we're so proud of you, man. Thanks for your service and continued service to the Army and the nation.
Thanks, sir. Thanks, Army. Just an honor. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for yours.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us. Army Matters is brought to you by the Association of the United States Army, the U.S. Army's professional association, member-supported, Army-connected. Visit us at ausa.org for more information or to become a member. Your membership helps AUSA continue to carry out its mission, educate, inform, and connect with the total Army, our industry partners, and supporters of a strong national defense. Today's episode was hosted by Lieutenant General Retired Les Smith and SMA Retired Dan Dailey, and anchor hosted by Carrie Barrow-Heckes. Andy Bosnack is the associate producer and supervising sound editor. Major Ryan Crane is the writer, and Ellen Toner is the content editor. Umzinga Curry is the executive producer. Carrie Barrow-Heckes is the senior producer, and Savannah Campbell-Smith is the producer. Be sure to subscribe to Army Matters wherever you get your podcasts, and please leave a review. As you know, we love seeing stars in the Army, especially if it comes in the form of a 5-star review. AUSA's Army Matters podcast can also be heard on Reach Across America Radio on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app with the search of the word Wreath. For questions or to provide topic recommendations, email us at podcast@ausa.org. AUSA's Army Matters podcast primary purpose is to entertain. The podcast does not constitute advice or services. While guests are invited to listen, listeners, please note that you're not being provided professional advice from the podcast or the guest. The views and opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect the views of AUSA. I'm LaSharon Duncan, hoping you have a great Army day. Hooah!